Welcome to my YouTube channel. I wish I were a fish, 'cause fishes have a better life than people. Is that true? I mean, come on. How does a fish have a better life than people? Right? I mean, if you guys haven't seen The Incredible Mr. Limpet, you must watch The Incredible Mr. Limpet. Don Knotts turns into a fish. He imagines becoming a fish. And he thinks that fish have a better life than people. I mean, I guess it'd be hard to be objective if you were a fish. Because if you're a fish, how would you imagine that you have a better life than a person if you don't even know what a person does, right? Like if you eat like cereal in the morning versus eating a fish that's almost the size of you. Right? I mean, I don't know if you guys ever seen that video where like this, you get like two fish in like a fish tank, and then one fish eats the other fish, and the fish is almost as big as the fish that it's eating. I mean, can you imagine trying to eat somebody that's almost as big as you? It's like, oh, I can't do it. Oh no, this cat. Yeah, I don't know. Just things, you think about important stuff for YouTube videos. You think about, yeah, what do you guys need to hear? About eating fish? What's your favorite fish? Do fishes have a better life? I don't know. And then there's the other part of that song. I don't know. That's such an awesome song. I should play it on here. Then I'd probably run into copyrighted content, right? Let me. We got nine of Wands energy. Leave in old emotional states. What am I feeling? So, getting to the grounded state, right? Every dysfunction in society, this is what I'm feeling. You guys are starting to figure this stuff out. You're in victory mode. Sacrifice. This is how you get to this is like the grounded state, the enlightened position, right? The hangman. Hangman is, look at the guy's head. He's glowing. So I was having this conversation yesterday, and the cards are just like telling me the same thing. The motion that you're in, King of Wands energy, has both of these involved with it. Seven of Swords, Page of Cups, where you're motivated by a youthful emotional state, right? Because everything gets really simple when you're like this. It's like you're actively being inactive. Does that make sense? I don't know. Is that what I'm doing on this YouTube channel? Am I actively being inactive? I don't know. Maybe that's a good way of putting it, right? It's like, how do you put these two together, right? King of Wands and the Hangman. You're actively being inactive. Yeah. So all you're doing is just transmuting the negative energy here. And where does the negative energy come from? All negative energy comes from some ungrounded state, because you're not present. You're not moving the energy naturally, right? How much stuff out there is kind of falling back into your animal nature in a way, right? Like a tree is never really is always present. It's never worrying about tomorrow or thinking about yesterday, right? And that's why trees live so long. What is the longest living organism on the planet? Is a mycelium, right? It's like 8,000 years old, that honey mushroom in Oregon, Central Oregon. There's a mycelium that is over 8,000 years old. I think that's what they approximate, right? We don't know. Maybe it's 9,153 years old. But what was the first part of that mycelium? When did it form? It's pretty hard to, for somebody to say that a fungus is 8,500 years old, how did you get that number, right? Who was there that actually recorded the first, how does it show up first, right? I don't know. I don't know these things. How did they figure that out? I'm just repeating what somebody else said. I'm assuming they're right, but for the most part, the mycelium is the master of life and death. Because they're both interrelated, right? They master life and death. So does the tree. It never worries about whether it's going to die. And it doesn't really think about how much it's grown. It's just perfectly present, moving the energy that's available to it at the time. Right? It doesn't try to move more. It doesn't try to create more oxygen than it's made to create for whatever carbon dioxide is available. It only grows according to the nutrients that are available to it, the sunlight, and the carbon dioxide that's available for it to transmute into oxygen. Do you ever hear of trees worrying about they're not having enough carbon dioxide to transmute? Why? Become more like a tree. Right? Be good at being actively inactive. Yeah. And I think that, I think all of us could learn from trees and mycelium. Because, plants die, people die. Actually, if we didn't have mycelium and fungus, all of the plant matter and animal matter would stack up in the world, and then there'd be nothing. There'd be no new growth, because you would be transmuting all that old energy back into new growth. You got to do it, right? You got to transmute the energy. Actually, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing old structures die, become the mycelium, become a mushroom, eat more mushrooms. Yes, maybe we'll call that this video. Let's see what our little oracle card has to say. Do I have a mushroom oracle card? I don't know. Shadow self. Ooh. Transmuting the shadow self. There's lightning. Into moving forward. So we're moving forward from the shadow self. Into what? Transformation. Yeah, we're transforming the shadow self into new growth. Something's dying. You can feel it. So what part of the shadow self are we transforming? I can tell you in my meditations, and this happens to me in my meditations, a lot of times, and I'll let you guys, I'm sure you guys go through something similar. Sometimes we go into extra dimensional states, right? Where you're experiencing all kinds of stuff that you're maybe having a hard time understanding what it's telling you. But sometimes you might be hearing people's ungrounded state, like worrying about, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, or this, and this is going to happen, right? You're projecting some kind of imaginary, terrible scenario. So I've actually picked stuff up like this from people in my extended reach, where, like, if you're in a deep meditational state, you pick up projected energies. And I think we don't realize it, but we're actually grounding those things out when we do that. When we pick that up, and you just putting your awareness on it and grounding it, not reacting to it, heals it. Because that person might not even realize what you're doing. And there's a deep healing that's going on in the group collective when you get to the grounded state and you're picking up, you start to get more psychic and start to pick up the negative projections from people, right? Especially if they're trying to be controlling. The only reason that anybody ever try to control anybody is to control tomorrow, right? To give an advantage to them sometime in the future, which doesn't exist. If that makes sense, right? Why? What's the point? All we're doing is taking energy that people have saved for tomorrow because they want to try and control tomorrow, and grounding it and moving it into places where it's needed, that it was pulled from to try and control tomorrow. That's the imbalance that we see in society, right? Transforming all that energy. Okay, let's get one more card, and then I'm going to shut up. Okay. Communication. We're communicating with ourselves. Communication. This communications card, and it's all coming from top of her head, or third eye chakra, but it's wholesome, right? It's whole communication. So we're communicating with the whole self, and we cease to be, the ego kind of melts away, right? And we're communicating with the whole organism. The mycelium is branching out and communicating, transmuting all the shadow stuff all around us, and creating new growth, so that we can become creative again, instead of just feeding each other off of each other's negative emotional states. It's a long process, but it's happening. It's very exciting. I don't know what you guys think. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.